One thing that's going on in Birmingham, and actually it's starting to seep into the rest of the country, actually, is these protests, anti-LGBT protests outside schools. And you went down to is it Anderson
Park, yeah.
And we've got a clip of you speaking to one of the protesters here. That school isn't actually in your constituency, is it?
No, it isn't
in my constituency.
It is in your constituency.
But, so why did you...
Not the one Joe represents.
No, yeah. Yes. Oh, fuck, I'm an MP. Why did you feel that meant that you needed to go into somebody else's constituency?
It had been going on for a number of weeks at a different school, which is also not in my constituency, Park Field, which is... in like Hodge-Hill, Allen Rockway, and I had sort of kept out of that one because it wasn't in my constituency, and I very much felt that the MP who represents there seemed very visibly to be working with the school and the community to make things better, so I didn't feel like I had to. But then the night before I rocked up at Anderson Park School, I'd had an email from the head teacher basically begging, saying that they felt like they'd been left alone by the Department for Education, by the members of Parliament for the area, including myself.
Yeah.
She was like, I need help. And I was like, well, I will just come tomorrow. And I actually live like 3 streets away from Anderson Park Primary School. So I was just like, oh yeah, I'll just drop my kids at school and I'll just come and see you and see what I can do to help. And obviously they were all there, the protesters. My favourite bit, which didn't show, is when he says to me, where have you been? Why haven't you been down at this protest? You're not a very good representative. I was like, I'm not going to come to a protest I don't agree with. It's just like really like accusatory. You should have been on the protest. I was like that. Yeah, I'm not a bigot. Why would I come to your protest? It's really odd. But I felt like I had to do something, and because the MP for the area, unfortunately, I'm afraid to say, has sided very much with the protesters and thinks that some children are too young to know that gay people exist. And at my children's school, which is probably the next school, the most local school to that school, there are gay mums and dad in the playground, there are gay children in the classrooms, and I just cannot imagine the idea that there are children in the school that are too young to know about their existence. I just don't agree with it. But there is a lot of people certainly in places like Birmingham, especially representatives in places like Birmingham, people are really anxious about standing up against religious communities and feel like you have to triangulate and, you know, play the percentages to make sure you can do the right thing. But the reality is there is right and wrong in this situation. One is a bigoted opinion, and one isn't. And I would stand on the picket line for the Muslim community where I live. So I will stand on the picket line for the LGBT community as well.
What I particularly loved about it in that clip is the fact that you said to him that you're hurting the Muslim community, which is exactly how I feel. And what worries me about it is I'm obviously invested because I am LGBT, but I had this amazing cab journey with a Muslim driver who I was off to the protest for the People's Vote, and he said, oh, what are you up to? And I said, I'm going to this vote. And he said, oh, it's good you're doing that because it's taking up so much time, isn't it? All of this chat about Brexit when there are much bigger issues. Like they're saying that it's all right to be gay in schools. And I was like, oh, God. And I was like, well, why'd you say that? And we started talking about it. And actually, like anyone who has those sort of views, they fell apart quite quickly. And he said to me, well, the anus isn't for having sex. And I said, well, have you ever had a blowjob? And he went, yeah. And I said, well, the mouth isn't really meant for sex, is it, if you look at it like that? And he went, oh. And I went, I'll see you in hell. And he...
Also, newsflash, heterosexual people have anal sex?
Well, of course. And I said, well, I've actually never had. I said to him, I've never actually had anal sex.
But now it's like me and Joe are in our living room.
Yeah. But I haven't. I said, I've never had anything up there. And he went, oh, so you're a top, and high-fived me. So he knew what these things were, but didn't... And actually, we both came away and he'd had a laugh, I'd had a laugh, and we both sort of agreed to disagree. And he'd said, well, my religion says this and whatever, and it was sort of fine. Oh, yeah. But actually, coming away from it, I thought, well, actually, neither of us have changed our views.
No.
And I'm definitely not going to change mine. So I don't actually see what is the solution to that problem. Is there a solution?
I think that there is a solution, and we live in a rules-based system, and Parliament legislates for the rules of this country. And actually, what I have found, representing in lots of cases, conservative with a small c, because they're certainly not conservative with a big C, Muslim community, is that if there are rules, like you have to teach every part of the Equality Act in every school to every child, it will be accepted.
Yeah.
That is the rule, that is the way that it is. What the government have done, and what has caused the trouble in this instance, is that they've allowed this sort of fudge, because they listen to religious communities. And funnily enough, it wasn't the Muslim community they were listening to at the time when they made this fudge. It was other religious communities, where it's up to the head teacher to decide, and all that means is that head teachers across the land can have pressure put on them.
Yeah.
So the solution is a rules-based system, and all of the people I grew up with, all of the people in my constituency will carry on living by the rules just as much as they ever have. But it's when the government gets nervous. We're all so nervous, and we live in this time where we're so nervous to try and just do the right thing, and that is really dangerous, in my opinion. And as somebody who lives and has always lived in a really, really mixed community, and it pisses me off about Brexit and the white working class community, the same thing gets said about them, as if these people can't have a debate, as if they're going to shatter like a million pieces if you go, well, I just don't agree with you, mate. Like, you know, I mean, my family, we don't agree with each other on anything, but we still love each other, and we row, and white working class communities can have a debate about things. Why do we think we get so precious that we can't say things anymore, or think that people can bear a debate? And that way lies madness, and unfortunately it will be taken advantage of by totalitarianism and very, very radical views.